Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Bill Wade, the curator of a special exhibition at the Strasburg Museum, October 6th through the 9th and October 13th through the 16th, 2022, entitled Post-World War II Shenandoah County Art. This exhibition accompanies my article in the 250th Anniversary History Series of Shenandoah County Historical Society. First, I would like to share with you highlights in the permanent collection, which we are using as part of the exhibition, and then I will deal with some of the specific things that we have added that are not here on permanent display always. The Strasburg Museum has an important collection of Shenandoah County art. In addition to the renowned collection in the Virginia H. Cadden Pottery Room, there are other important ceramic works by recent Shenandoah County artists, such as Isaac Billy Landis, John Kopp, and Anna Roller. Numerous folk art carvings by Asa Baker Stickley. The folk art boxes painted by contemporary county artists in the Dr. Jim Kaiser collection. Shenandoah County related frontures, a Jacob yoke chest, antique and contemporary quilts, a folk painting by Roy Philip Updike of the Shenandoah River Railroad Bridge at Signal Knob, and 4 paintings by folk artist J.T. Rexroad of Pendleton County, West Virginia, form a distinctive folk art collection of the region. In addition to this, there are 3 pottery murals by Doug Dillinger of Stephen City, 5 works on paper by Robert Maphis Wick of Woodstock, 11 paintings by Carl Brown, 1 painting by Virginia Bales, and an original circa 1906 photograph by Edgar Stickley, all 3 of Strasburg, are complemented by a display of 7 original colorful banners painted by a local artist to celebrate the 250th anniversary of Strasburg in 2011. The artwork that we'll be seeing that are displays on tops of tables and on top of cases are in addition to the permanent collection of the Strasburg Museum. I invite you to join me in a tour of that at this time. We start in the right-hand corner as you come to the museum with 4 works on paper by Robert Maphis Wick of Woodstock. Mr. Wick lived from 1904 to 1978. He moved into the county around 1951 and was a very important artist of the period. The 4 works on paper include 3 with color and 1 graphite, black and white, the small one on the left-hand side. This is an image of Brill's Grocery in downtown Strasburg on King Street, which was raised to have the current Summit Square pavilion erected for the enjoyment of the people of Strasburg. If you look in the window, the elderly lady selling newspapers, the title of the painting is called Mary, also by Mr. Wick. It's an oil on masonite board. To the right, up high on the wall, were done in 1997 by Doug Dillinger, and they portray the making of materials of pottery, shaping them into molds, and then the selling of the pottery. Strasburg is known for its famous pottery works. The large painting on the left wall is by Carl Brown, a local Strasburg artist, and it's done after a photograph by C.I. Knisley of Strasburg and depicts Strasburg in the early 1900s. In this case, inside the case, is a frocktour from the early 1800s and a chest that comes from the Jacob Yost family. It's approximately 1750, late 1770s. We're very proud of this in our collection. The 2 works on the top of this display case are by Virginia Bales on the left, another version of the one we just saw by Carl Brown of Main Street, Strasburg, circa 1900. Miss Virginia Bales came to Strasburg in the 1940s as her husband was with the railroad here in the community. And she was known for her paintings and her artwork. One of her paintings is in the Cadden Pottery Room. Miss Bales dates are from 1904 to 2001. Mr. Carl Brown's dates previously from 1899 to 1988. The watercolor on the right is by Frances Lee Wharton. She did it in 1969 of Fort Bowman. She was a sister to a former mayor of Strasburg, and she lived from 1892 and then passed away at the age of 88. The two works on Masonite are by J.T. Rexroad of Pendleton County, West Virginia, and he is a well-known folk artist. His works are in the museum in Shenandoah Valley. To the left are two more, and these are all scenes of people sawing wood and making sorghum and doing hay, and he lived roughly to the 1970s, if I remember correctly. He is a known folk artist in books. The glass case are 5 ceramic works by Dr. Jim Kaiser. I believe he just celebrated his 90th birthday, and he has been part of taking molds from the classic Strasburg works, besides doing his own and reproducing them with the bright colors that you see, and also was a main person in the renewal of the Sturwalt box, painted box tradition out of Newmarket. At the bottom of this case, you see one from our collection by Mark Loving of now Maurytown, but formerly of Strasburg. And there's going to be shown to you more boxes by Mr. Kaiser and the collection here in a few minutes. The Strasburg Museum is also very proud to have 3 signed limited edition prints by Mort Kunstler, who did a special art painting here for the celebration in Strasburg and related to the museum. The one here with the horses is by John Paul Strain, and that has to do with the skirmish at Tom's Brook. All 4, these other 2 as well, have to do with Civil War scenes related to the trains coming to Strasburg in Stonewall Jackson's raid, or battle scenes like we see of Tom's Brook. Above on shelves, you may see several examples of painted boxes painted by artists in the county. And this is part of Dr. Jim Kaiser's painted box collection, which we are fortunate to have in the permanent collection of the Strasburg Museum. The top painting on the top of the chest is by Jennifer Bailey Walker, a member of VECA all the way back to 2000, and teaches art here in Strasburg. It's a view of Signal Knob from a Sandy Hook farm, an acrylic from 2013. To the right is by Lee Taylor, a local artist. It's called A Stack of Books. Beneath is an example from the 1980s from a Woodstock artist, Mary Rauch, of a Shenandoah County barn. These barns have been the focus of interest by the late John Adamson, and now over 300 photographs of these historic barns in the county have been collected. This is an oil painting, or acrylic painting, of such a barn. The large painting, drawing on the wall is an original art drawing by Robert Maphis Wick, mentioned previously, of the seal of Shenandoah County. We have the original. Here you see 2 paintings showing the museum and emphasizing the fact that it was a railroad station for the Southern Railroad at one time, with the Southern Railroad car behind the museum, and we are blessed to have that in a special train exhibition. The one on the top, I do not know the painter, but the small one on the bottom is another example by Carl Brown. And then to our right are several more examples from the Jim Kaiser painted box collection. 5 small paintings on the table are by noted painter Andre Kushner. His Old Shenandoah book won special awards from the Shenandoah County Historical Society in 2020, and they are scenes of Shenandoah County images. We have the small one in the front was the 3 crosses at Strasburg Junction. On your left is the bush hung house at Newmarket. On the right is down at Mount Jackson in the fall. And the far back is Hawkinstown United Methodist Church, again on Route 11 close to Mount Jackson. And then on the left, this is a scene of Fisher's Hill Battlefield looking back to Signal Knob. On our right are a set of wood carvings by 2 of our local artists, Ed Ambrose and his brother Dick Ambrose. The 2 ducks and pelican on the left are by his brother Dick. And the other images are by Ed. Ed's work is in the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley, and it's also in Newtown Museum and down in Meadow Farm Museum in Richmond, and has gained national recognition. King Tut in the back was painted by his brother Richard, but carved by Ed. The painting of a scene from Williamsburg is by Robert Carlisle Barrett. And the reason why it's in the exhibition is that this is the person, the painter, that did the large mural at First Bank here in Strasburg. Andre Kushner was born in 1947 in Germany. Mr. Barrett was born in 1895 and died in 1979 in Charlottesville. Dick and Ed Ambrose lived from 1913 to 1919, and his brother was born in 1917 and passed away in 2014. This valley landscape is by Daniel Bernard III. He is a very important artist in Woodstock, having taught at the Military Academy there and at the Berner Institute of Art, and has had several of his works published in local books. The middle painting was done in 1981, entitled Shenandoah, by Mark Strauss, who was born in Poland in 1930 and died in Marytown in 2016. His work is different than what we normally see in the county. There's a whole book on him, and you can be able to see the vivid color and the motion of Russian constructivism and other elements. He lived through the Holocaust in Germany, and he came and would give his personal witness to local high school students before his death. He exhibited in Edinburgh. The one on the right is entitled Number 39, which is the railroad depot at Strasburg. This was done in 2004 by Helen Jean Smith. It was an award winner for the Mayfest Art Festival at that time, and her work is very colorful and she's most prolific. We're very proud to have her work in our exhibition. 3 works on the top of the cabinet are by Strasburg artist John Kopp, 1909 through 1973. This is a still life of a violin and jar. We believe in oil. The small pastel of an African-American youth is one of the few that I know of African-Americans portrayed in Shenandoah County art that I'm at this time aware of. The wooden sculpture by Mr. Kopp is entitled Hiram, after the king in the Old Testament, and also relates to the founder of the Masonic order. At the very bottom of the case, there are also, on the very bottom, examples of Mr. Kopp's ceramic works. He taught both pottery and art in Strasburg during his lifetime. The dog is a special example of his work. Above, in the other case shelves, are 4 examples of Isaac Billy Landis, 1906 through 1919, of Mount Jackson. We are very proud of these. Originally, we received from his sister, India, a whole set. Now some are at Mount Jackson, some are at the Museum of Shenandoah Valley. We retain 4, and I believe that Mr. Landis is one of the outstanding folk artists of Shenandoah County of the past century. These are wonderful works of people in their daily lives at the time of his artistry. We are most fortunate to have Mr. Andre Kushner visiting with us today to see his work in this exhibition. And this is a rare privilege for me and for us to have him on tape to go with this presentation. Andre, would you say a few words?
Thank you, Dr. Wade. I'm honored to be here today and to participate in this videotaping. I'm just came by to take a look at a few of my paintings that happen to be here. I'm working on a project to paint along the interstates of the Shenandoah Valley, all 3 interstates, I-81, I-66, and I-64. And been working on this project for about the last 3 or 4 years. And it's almost done. It'll culminate in a book published by the George F. Thompson Publishing Company from Staunton, Virginia. And so I've been going through the highways and byways of the valley, and these are some of the places that I visited. The Fisher's Hill Park, we have the along the I-81 near Newmarket, the Newmarket battlefield. We have a scene right near here, a very famous scene. If you're coming down I-81, there's these large 3 crosses there of a magnificent church there. Moving along here, we have a view of Mount Jackson from I-81. I actually was located on a little road next to I-81, and I was able to capture that view. And behind that is a church that's visible from I-81. It's Hawkinstown United Methodist Church, and with the cemetery behind it, and you can actually see its profile from I-81, and so I came down to get a little better view of the church. And so that's my project. It's a follow-on project to one that I had been working on for about 15 years, painting along the entire Shenandoah Valley. And it's also the book from it was also published by the George F. Thompson Publishing, and resulted in several nice exhibitions here in the valley. One at the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley, one at the Virginia Museum of History and Culture, and the largest one of 150 paintings at the James Madison University Art Gallery. So it's my pleasure to be here, and this is a magnificent structure filled with great artifacts, the true history of the Shenandoah Valley, and I'm proud to be my little bitty part of it. Thanks so much.
This painting is of the fulling mill in Mount Jackson. It was built after the Civil War, when the first one, which went back in the late 1700s, was burned by Union forces during the Civil War. This fulling mill, unfortunately, burned down just recently this summer, but it was recorded in paint by the folk artist Isaac Billy Landis. We're very proud of it, not only because it's colorful and interesting folk art, but it's one of only 2 small paintings by this artist that we know to exist. And we're glad to have it in our collection, and we have it on loan to the Mount Jackson Museum. We would want you to know that the Mount Jackson Museum and Mount Jackson, Virginia, here in the county, has the most has the best displayed exhibition of Mr. Landis' work. Can be seen at any time, anywhere in the country or in the county or in Virginia. So it's a major place, and we are most thankful to have him as one of our Shenandoah County artists. These 4 ceramic pieces on the bottom shelf are by Anna Roller, who was part of the revival of ceramics in the 1970s here in Strasburg. These 2 paintings are, once again, by Strasburg artist Carl Brown. You can see the one on the right is of the historic 7 Bins in Woodstock, often painted by notable people. William Valentine of Richmond in the late 1880s, but several artists here that are being exhibited in this exhibit. On the left is a small snow scene in the valley. The wood carvings by Asa Baker Stickley, 1884 to 1973, we have almost 30 of his original wood carvings, and one of his pieces, a very important piece in the Museum of Shenandoah Valley, is a man and wife with a sleigh. But we are so proud to have all of these in the exhibition, in the permanent collection, especially like little piglets coming for dinner. These 3 paintings are by Wolfgang Neudorfer from Tom's Brook, but he has done a complete series of images here in Strasburg and also in Newmarket. These 3 are in Strasburg. The one on the right is a scene in downtown Strasburg on King Street, just south, I believe, of the post office. This is West Strasburg, again on Route 11 going towards Woodstock. And the third is a small pastel of the historic Strasburg Mill. This abstract painting is called Homage to Kandinsky. It's by Rachel Wren Crawford, native of Mississippi, but came to the area in the 1980s and has been active in artwork here in the county and in the northern Shenandoah Valley, even though she has exhibited works outside of the state. She was one of the very first artists in the area to major and focus on abstract art. One of her works called Cowboy is in the permanent collection of the Museum of Shenandoah Valley, and another one is in the permanent collection of the Rockingham Memorial Hospital. These 3 ceramic pieces are by Ruth Dreyer. Again, one of the artists that was part of the revival in pottery in the 1970s. She continued making these up to the 250th anniversary in 2011 and perhaps afterwards. This small work is of the post office in Strasburg, where we have the Sarah Blakesley mural, which we're so proud of. What's interesting about, besides the artistry and the focus of the painting by Suzanne Arthur of Strasburg, is that she has put postage stamps around the post office. And these were from the letters she received from her husband during the Vietnam War period. The blue and also the 3 brown painted boxes are by Dr. Jim Kaiser himself. They are examples painted in a more muted style, following the tradition that the Germanic folks in the valley would have done back in the early 1800s. We are, again, so thankful to have him as an artist in pottery and also this wonderful collection of contemporary renewal painted boxes in the Sturwalt tradition. This is an original painting by Martha Louise Evans of Edinburgh of a Shenandoah Valley scene, we think in Shenandoah County, with sheep. You can see the mountains behind. She is one of the major painters of the county. She came, having been born in in Ohio and trained at Ohio State in the Masters of Fine Arts. She came back in the 1940s to help take care of an uncle who was sick, ended up marrying, and then gave herself, after her husband's death in the early 1970s, to being an art teacher and has taught up to over 400 students in the county. And her work is shown in the special book that we're doing for the 250th anniversary, Martha Louise Evans. Her work can be seen in the Edinburgh Mill Museum, several pieces from the John William Roller collection. The small portrait of a basset hound is by Liz Schillinger, who moved to Strasburg and started painting around 2000. And she was known for her pet portraits of especially basset hounds. That was her love. And she would go to special shows for basset hound lovers and displayed internationally on the internet. And this is just a small example that I was able to purchase from her daughter, Liesl. The photograph is one that I'm very happy to have, in that it's a black and white photograph by Rich Cooley of the Northern Virginia Daily. Rich started, I believe, in like 1980 and has had a career for now over 40 years with the Northern Virginia Daily, winning all kinds of state awards. And people in the county and outside of the county that get the Northern Virginia Daily look forward to seeing his photographs in color now of the daily lives of the Shenandoah Valley. We are very proud of Rich Cooley. This still life is by Elizabeth Strippy, originally from Harrisonburg. She now lives at the age, I believe, 90 in Woodstock, but she had her gallery in Edinburgh. This was done in 1980 after she completed her work in art training up in Maryland. And it's a basket of cherries. It's still life, I believe. My guess is oil instead of acrylic. It's one of her early works. We have another one of her works, which you'll be seeing in a few minutes, of a baseball field in Strasburg. This is a pastel by Donna Patton of Woodstock, one of the early founding members of WWII there, and also of the WWII Gallery, which you may visit in downtown Woodstock. A still life of geraniums, I believe, with the white bench behind. I believe it's in pastel. This small still life by Margaret Peg Dillon of Woodstock is one that I especially enjoy. Unfortunately, she is no longer with us, but she too was a member of WWII. These two still lifes of a floral still life in crystal vase and three apples are by Bernice McKay, who came in the late 1980s to Woodstock and taught for, I believe, almost 2 decades. She came from New York, very active in Woodstock and in WWII. This painting, which we entitled Nighttime Wharf, is by Barclay Shakes. And the reason why we have him in, even though he was born in Indiana, he moved to Newmarket as a small boy before he then went on to Richmond Polytechnical Institute and William and Mary to get a degree in art. And he founded the art department at Virginia Wesleyan down by the water, and wrote 8 books and was a PBS art teacher as well, and won various awards. We're very thankful to have him related to our county and to have this in the exhibition. This pegwooden doll, patterned after those of the 1800s, was carved by Garland Keeler of Woodstock, and his wife Nancy Keeler painted and clothed the doll. This church is a work in wood by Leroy Polk of Edinburgh, and his work can be found in the Mount Jackson Museum. He was related to Birdhaven at one time. These two examples of painted gourd art are by Nancy Schramm of Woodstock. She studied as a student at the Berner Art Institute with Daniel Berner, and she's known for a variety of things in the arts, but I find these two painted gourd folk art pieces as being delightful. The title of the larger one in blue is Miss Shenandoah County Fair, and the small pink one I believe would be a princess or attendant. These pieces are by Miss Hazel Fadley, we believe outside of Mount Jackson or Edinburgh, Snow Scene in the Valley. And then this one is titled Squirrel in Spring. These came from back in the 1970s. And then we have something a little unusual, a long saw that she painted with a winter scene. And instead of what you normally see with a hand saw, this would be one that was a two-person saw that would have had to be used. On your left is Strasburg Band Parade on King Street by Tim Krisman, done in 2007. I believe, again, a Mayfest award winner. And on the right is Swing into Spring, Sandy Hook Baseball Field, Strasburg, done in 2005 by Elizabeth J. Strippey. We saw one of Mrs. Strippey's work previously with her cherries in a basket. This is First Park Field, I believe, now. These paintings are, again, by Carl Brown. This is Sandy Hook Elementary in Strasburg. Then a picture, a painting looking down on the Seven Bends in Woodstock. Steam locomotive scenes. The one at the bottom is of Signal Knob and at nighttime. The one on the ridge on the right, we believe maybe means bottom. So those are woodland fowl on log. And then up here is a 1976 bicentennial parade, we believe, in Strasburg. This is one of the earliest photographs of Strasburg known to exist, taken in 1906 by Edgar Stickley and Brothers. We are in the Virginia H. Cadden Pottery Room, which has a wonderful collection of Shenandoah Valley pottery. This is a painting by Carl Brown, once again, and it's done in 1970 when the museum was opening. And another one on the left, again, showing work here that would have been done in the museum making pottery. This case has some of the more unusual and rare examples with colored dip and design instead of the more plain gray and white, and are highly treasured. And this is one of the banners hand-painted by local artists in the celebration of 250th year of Strasburg in 2011. We have two here in the pottery room. One is by Peggy Rice Davidson. And the other one is by Dylan Noose, or Noose. This is a painting by Virginia Bales, noted before, of the Ephrata Sabbatarian settlement over in Sandy Hook area, I believe, a farmhouse as it looked in 1950, and it is in the pottery room as well. Folk painting of the railroad bridge over the Shenandoah River at Signal Knob by Roy Philip Updike. His work may be still seen at the American Legion Hall here in Strasburg. This is one of the first images outside the two bank murals that I ever saw of Strasburg art in the home of Miss Bamber. We are grateful to have this early piece. Simple, unmarked, but early, mid-1950s. Most likely now 60 plus years old. This is an early painting of, we believe, Bell Grove in Middletown. The painter is unknown to us at this time, but we are very proud to have it in the museum. And to the left is a quilted piece of Longmeadow, which is another historic site very close to Bell Grove outside of Middletown. Not in Shenandoah County, but one of our neighbors that we have in our museum. This is one of our banners for the 250th anniversary by Mary Campbell Redmond, one called Simon Haar and the other Alphabet in Fraktur. This celebrates Mr. Haar, who was the first schoolmaster here in Strasburg, dates 1734 through 1796. And this side of the banner shows the alphabet in Fraktur or Fraktur, the early German print. Of course, Strasburg was a Germanic settlement. This banner is done by Suzanne Kibler-Arthur, again for the 250th anniversary. It's titled Strasburg Cradled in the Crossroads. Colorful and done in sort of a modern way. This is a limited edition print of the Battle of Fisher's Hill, entitled We're Flanked. It's by Gary Castile, who was a resident artist in the county in the 1980s and 90s before he moved to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. He did the statue of Middleburg on the courthouse in Woodstock, and also 2 bas-reliefs celebrating Civil War sites in Woodstock and in Edinburgh Cemetery. This is another one of the Frakturs, a printed Fraktur from Pennsylvania, 1833, and then hand-colored, of a person in the county named Will. His last name was Will, and it's for his birth in 1839. We are most fortunate to have an excellent quilt collection here in the museum as well. I think there's 5 that are displayed here at the time, and we would invite folks to come and enjoy them. These are the antique quilts. They're valued when they have the names of the people who worked on them. This banner, celebrating 250 years in 2011 in Strasburg, was by Brenda Himmelwright and was entitled Strasburg Yesterday and Today, 1761 to 2011. And you can see that it has this museum and the trains coming in and Signal Knob in the backdrop.
All right, the painting was done. I had a friend that lived in our neighborhood, and when I moved back here from Fairfax County for a brief period of years, we worked together. And this is called Rosemary's Geraniums. It was taken from a photograph I took on her porch with the bench. And I would drive by and see it and think, I want to paint that, I want to paint that. Well, I did.
This is another banner where we celebrate our 250th anniversary of Strasburg in 2011. This is entitled Signal Knob from Sandy Hook Bridge by Mary Franklin Lohr. Miss Lohr was an art teacher at Strasburg High School, and she retired in 1999. Another thing that Miss Lohr was responsible for is she had her students do calendars from 1983 to 1989. So each month, one of her students' artwork was displayed. So we're very, very proud of these. We're very happy to have them here in the museum as well. You can see we had an awful lot of talented young artists in Strasburg and Shenandoah County.
I want to thank Dennis Hupp and all the other folks at Strasburg Museum for allowing us to have this exhibition here. Also, I want to remember Miss Virginia H. Cadden and Gloria Stickley, who assisted me in the exhibitions that I had here previously, starting in the year 2000. And finally, I want to thank the person who's taking all these photographs and completed about Miss Lohr and her students and her banner for me, Mr. Tim Taylor, who is the president of the Strasburg Heritage Society and someone we're proud to represent us on the County Board of Supervisors. In this presentation, we've attempted to show you some of the treasures that are in the permanent collection of the Strasburg Museum in Strasburg, Virginia, but also to have some of the works that were shared from my collection, the special exhibition of post-Shenandoah County, World War II Shenandoah County art, which was held here in October 2022. This was to accompany the book number 12, which will be in the history series of the 250th anniversary of Shenandoah County Historical Society. I want to thank Ms. Barbara Adamson for her invitation to do that book and take part in that. We're also going to be having a special exhibition this coming Friday at the Strasburg Community Library of Shenandoah County art, 1800 to 1925 of the early art. Finally, I would want to point out that the artwork in Strasburg and Shenandoah County is not all contained inside museums or walls. Here in Strasburg, there is not only a pot town tradition of ceramics, there is a tradition that goes back into the 1930s and the early 1900s, probably 1920s, of murals. And we have a preserved set of murals of the Strand Theater from the 1920s and 30s in Box Office Brewery on King Street that you may be able to see, and we're thankful they were preserved. We have the 1938 mural of Shenandoah County, the scene here in Strasburg by Sarah Blakesley Spate. And that was one of the rare public murals done by the federal government in our 1936 post office, but it was installed in 1938. Then in 1960, in First Bank in Strasburg, there is a huge mural, again, of the local scene by Robert Carlyle Barrett. And finally, recently, there have been a series of new murals, upwards to 10 or more, that are all around Strasburg that folks can be able to see a variety of artwork by trained professionals that come from foreign countries even, and are now being seen by the local people who visit Shenandoah County and live here. Thank you so much for your time in looking at this presentation.